Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Greater Nubu High family. My respected fans, not quite long, the USA government implemented strategy that is tossing people, foreigners in America up and down, and this led to the deportation of over 3,000 Nigeria back to their homeland. And this policy also affected other nationals in all over the world. We thought that it is only the poor that can cry. Later did we know that the rich can also cry. Watch this video.
And actually, unfortunately, the Canadian Embassy, for knowledge best known to them, denied us visa to honor our veterans, those that were injured during battle. Remember last year, the Duke of Sussex visited Nigeria with his wife. Through the Invictus, they have a foundation that they try to raise the morale of troops all over the world that have suffered one form of deformity or the other in the course of defending their individual countries. So we're supposed to be there. And actually, half of my team have already gone, but unfortunately, the Canadian Embassy, for knowledge best known to them, denied us visa. So I wasn't sure, and so I wanted to be silent about it. But when we couldn't get the visa, I said, this is blessing in disguise. So I'm really very happy to be here.
Since after he came to admit this visa denial, many Nigerians have been dragging this government up and down. And they have valid reasons for doing that. Especially when Ribadu came with his own statement and reaction.
Thank you for the courage to say that Canada denied you. They can go to hell. Even though it's painful, it's disrespectful, but we are people. We are strong. And I agree with you. We have to fix our country. We have to do it well. Yes. This disrespect is too much. So, yet is another reason why we work hard to make Nigeria work and be respected.
Good. Now, Nigerians are telling this government of impunity, especially in reacting to Ribadu, that since he decided to work with the same person he dragged and investigated for corruption at international level scale, what would they expect? That it is time for Nigeria to have its own retrospect, especially among the leaders. And that is the position of many Nigerians. And some of them have also dragged the Nigerian military.
Everyone, you need to come on board. Boko Haram should lay their arms unconditionally and be accepted in the community. Opportunities are out there for them. They can be rehabilitated. An ex-Boko Haram stands having laid his arms and comes back, turns his way away from his negativity. He stands to be a president of this country. He stands to aspire to any position in this country. Why is he wasting his time when he cannot even deliver?
And you expect any country to take Nigeria seriously after hearing that bandits, terrorists, and killers can aspire to be president of this country and even occupy sensitive positions in government, and you expect Canada to give you visa.
And also, human rights violation, especially what we are seeing in the Southeast. Having said that, let us flip the page on the other side to also dig in deep with what we've been saying all this while. And that is the position of the Chief of Defense Staff with respect to international conspiracy to sponsor and continue destabilizing Nigeria. Listen to this.
I just can't understand why anybody will wake up and say that we're killing people when we're actually not doing the same. And guess what? Where the Giwa barracks you were talking about, we have all the humanitarian agencies working there. You have the UN working, local and international organizations are working. Are we saying they are complicit? There is nothing we're doing in the back. So if they don't say it, which means Amnesty International is equal, and Amnesty is equally there. So which means they're equally accusing all these other organizations of being complicit.
So just to be clear, you would be prepared to go to the ICJ in The Hague and answer these accusations?
We're not scared of anything because we don't have anything of such.
We've seen Boko Haram regroup and regroup and regroup. What is your answer to that? That you have in some way fed the insurgents?
The problem is that I think we've talked to international community. Let's find out the funding. When they started surrendering, by the time we left, so as we speak, we have over 120,000 that have surrendered. Most of them, when you find them, they are coming with hard currencies. How did they get them? How are they funded? How did they get the training? How did they get the equipment?
What is your suspicion?
Well, maybe an international conspiracy. You don't know. Who knows? How are they be able to sustain themselves for 15 years? That is one question I think everybody should ask himself. For Nigeria to be able to hold them, and you go to Nigeria, everything seems to be working well.
You must have an idea. I mean, let's not talk about international conspiracy theories. Let's give some hard facts.
Well, I just leave it at that. I'm sure they know, and I'm sure everybody knows that these are the challenges we're facing that needs to be addressed. So the UN need to come in to ensure that, because we need to trace the funding. How are they sustaining themselves for 15 years?
What does the UN coming in mean? What does that look like?
Track the funding. It's international flow. We don't have control over that.
Whose interest is it to see Nigeria destabilized?
Well, I don't know. You don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
Yes.
NGOs, there are so many things. If we want to go into NGO issues, there are so many things I had. Initially, when the NGOs came in, when we started, they didn't want any oversight function. They didn't want us to know where they were going to. We had issues with that because now they will go into the enclave of the terrorists and go and treat them. You are treating the same people that is attacking the communities. You tell them no, that you are neutral. How neutral can you be? We've had situations where allegations of arms, them conveying arms to us just to make sure that the war continues. We've had situations where they will tell you they are taking food to communities. Halfway, they will tell you the trailer has broken down. By next morning, the trailer is empty. And that vehicle that is broken down, the driver will just go and drive it and take it back. So what had happened? You have funded those guys. You are taking care of them equally. We've had several situations like that. So we said, no, it can't continue like that. And that's why we insisted with the state government that, look, the state government must know what's going on. So if any NGO comes, it must be registered. We must monitor what's going on. We've had situations where NGOs will come in with unidentified individuals entering communities. You don't even know what they're doing. They don't have NGO ID cards. They are not part of the government. Who is taking them to? What are they going there for? And so by the time we start monitoring what they were doing, we noticed things started getting better. So which means something is going on somewhere. Because they come from all over the world and you don't know who is who. So that's why for every country, please regulate what the NGOs are doing, monitor what they're doing. Most times you hear them telling you that they spent $10 million and then you wonder where. Most times the money is spent on themselves, on their luxuries. The hotels they stay, the vehicles they are using, and all those things. The locals don't benefit much from them. And yet this thing keeps on. I've told you, somebody will come and pay for a house for 10 years ahead. So what is he trying to tell you? This thing will never end until after 10 years, or maybe he will renew it. And again, I always remember that if there is peace and the threat level is low, one, they are going to retrench them. Two, their hazard allowance will reduce. How many of them will want that? We're not saying all of them are bad. No, some are really doing very well. Some are extremely doing very well. But again, please don't just assume they're just monitor what's going on, monitor what's being spent. I think it's important.
Okay, it's okay. You are welcome back once again. Yes, it is true that the rich can also cry. Because over time in Nigeria, poor people, poor masses, they have been looking for ways to travel. Some follow the desert way. Some follow the Mediterranean Sea. Some cross the water, and today they are nowhere to be found. Some family today perish in the Mediterranean Sea, looking for a means to cross to the European world. And ever since, poor Nigerians, average Nigerians, had been looking for ways to travel out of Nigeria, the rich men, our leaders, the politicians, they never one day hear the cry of the poor people. If you go to Malaysia today, you will see Nigerians being locked up. If you go to South Africa today, you will see Nigerian youth being locked up, and other parts of the world. We have never seen any leader that speak about the justice and freedom of Nigerians in the diaspora. What they after, some of them after, they are busy basking on the euphoria of fame and affluence, while the poor masses are crossing the Mediterranean Sea. And now the table has turned. The table has turned, and the Canadian government has started it by denying Nigerian leaders visa to Canada. When you make comments as a leader, you come to social media, you mostly the chief of army staff, you come to social media, you grant interviews, you talk without thinking that people are listening to verbal and non-verbal communications. You mention time without number that in your country that kinetic and non-kinetic approach are being used to tackle Nigerians, to tackle your children, that bad governance affected and led them to form different type of pressure group. Instead of you as a leader, as a security officer, to call the politician in order that their leadership strategy is giving the security men pressure. Their leadership strategies is affecting the youth, and the youth are also giving the military, the security men pressure by involving in different type of activities to survive in life. You are busy telling the world that you are using kinetic and non-kinetic approach on who? Innocent people. On who? People that you don't know. On who? The function of the military is to defend the territorial boundaries of a country. For example, if people from Mali want to come and invade Nigeria, it is your duty as a military man to stop that. But in your own approach, your kinetic and non-kinetic approach is within internal security. You are doing the job of the police. You are doing the job of the civil defense. You are doing the job of civil service. While your job is to protect the territory so that people cannot cross from Mali, from Niger, into the northern part of Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we are doing here, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, share our video, and leave us a comment. Thank you very much.